It's the Bill Huston Podcast.
Let's talk about environmental justice, shall we? I live on donations and grants, and I do public service work full time. I have about $500 of expenses that I can't pay this month. So I really need your help, friends. If you appreciate my work, if you appreciated this video, if you appreciate the research, the deep research that I do, you appreciate these videos that I do and have done, and here's what I've done with my life for the past 10 years. Bill Huston's fracking resume. Just go look that up. You're going to see I've done a lot of stuff, including some local work. I mean, I did a lot of state level work, but I did a lot of local work, including, we fought that Speedies permit in Endicott for about 4 years. So Google Bill Huston's fracking resume, and if you can, tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Huston. Donations are appreciated in any amount. If you don't work in environmental activism, you might not even have heard that word before, environmental justice, or that phrase before. So environmental justice is, what is it? It's supposedly some kind of special laws or special concerns, special considerations for people that are either low income or they're people of color. There's some kind of minority group, because the state kind of recognizes that minorities generally get screwed when it comes to citing these nasty facilities, these nasty polluting facilities. So environmental justice is some kind of recognition of that, and some kind of, well, we're going to try to do a little bit better for you. But as we're going to see, it's not a law, and it doesn't really have any teeth, unfortunately. So now I've been a critic of environmental justice because I have seen how race has been used to divide people with very successful movements. And we basically get the black people and the white people fighting with each other rather than fighting ExxonMobil or fighting, the toxic waste incinerator. So I've seen how destructive this identity politics can be. And, and ideally, rights are not a function of class and race. Rights are just rights. Rights are human rights. We shouldn't be, if somebody's rights are violated, whether they're plumbers who like purple pants or not, that shouldn't matter. That they're all of these minute classifications of people into these different groups. We're all humans. We're all human beings. The law should be blind to all these groups. And by the way, race is a fiction. Race does not exist. Race doesn't exist. Race isn't real. It's pseudoscience. It's the stuff. It's like eugenics. This race, the science of eugenics is the science of race, and eugenics is the stuff that Hitler was studying. Okay, so if you're talking about race or you're talking about racism, you're kind of, why would you define I'm not saying that racism, what you call racism, isn't a real problem. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying, why would you take a real problem and define it in terms of a fiction, which is race? Racism is the wrong word for whatever it is that you're talking about, because race is a fiction. Why? It's like unicornism. Every time I hear somebody talking about racism, I actually hear it, my brain does this weird translation to unicornism. It's like, why is everybody talking about unicorns? Unicorns don't exist. Same with race. Why is everybody talking about race? Race doesn't exist. We need to change the language if we want to solve the problem. Otherwise, everybody's just going to get confused. And that's what I see, is confusion around this issue of race, and especially when it's applied to environmental justice. The law should apply to all people. And by the way, benzene toxicity is not a function of skin color, or the toxicity of most chemicals is not a function of skin color. So why are we paying attention to skin color? We should be paying attention to whether people are getting injured or not, or people are getting their rights violated or not. But environmental justice tries to break people up into little groups, special classes of victims and special classes of perpetrators. And EJ promotes the victimization fable of the poor and people of color. And I'm not sure that's exactly helpful, these stories of our own victimization. But environmental justice promotes that idea. So just as so I know this guy. His name is David Braun. He's a nice guy. He's a friend of mine. He used to live in New York. Now he lives on the West Coast. He does work in California. But he's funny. He's a great guy. He's a great activist and organizer. But he plays identity politics. So I made this cartoon for David Braun. I hope David, if he has seen this, that he forgives me for this. Okay, I think he's adult enough that he can sort of take a joke and see that there's really an important point that there's trying to be made here. And I call it this cartoon I call David Braun's Ambulance Service. And this kind of gets into this problem with interjecting race, this fiction, where it shouldn't belong, okay? So it starts out like this. It's like, ring, ring. And it's like, hello, David Braun's Ambulance Service. May I help you? And the person on the other end of the phone says, oh, send help. Somebody is choking. And the guy says, is the victim black or white? The person goes, and he says, hey, come on, just hurry up and send an ambulance, okay? The guy's like, doo. So it's, when you put it like that, it seems absurd, but this is what identity politics eventually leads to, is asking these absurd questions like this. It's like, just get out here, what are you talking about? Is the victim black or white? The skin color of the victim should not matter, and it just confuses everybody if you start asking about it. Democracy school, I think, is the right approach because it talks about home rule and rights of nature and stripping corporations of their rights. But this can take decades. So as a democracy school grad myself, I know very well how rigged these permit procedures are. I know it's a rigged game. It's designed for us to lose, for the people to lose. And somebody said, I forget who said this, but that these permitting procedures, they basically funnel us into an arena where we have no agency. That's the idea. They're designed to be like this. So what do we do? Okay, yes, the permit process is rigged, and but when we're threatened with some dangerous, toxic facility, we have to use the tools that are available to us. Doesn't that seem right to you? Seems right to me. So, okay, we're going to be playing this rigged permit game. And I say, I live in a community that's poor and people of color. So I'm a critic of these environmental justice laws, but I feel like it's something we can use. It's something we can work. Let's see if there's something we can do with it. So I believe we have to use whatever we have at our disposal to fight these facilities. So there it is. This was this really hurt. This really hurt me to read. But there it is. The October 9th, 2019. The Environmental News Bulletin, Region 7 completed permits. Project is an unlisted action and will not have a significant impact on the environment. A negative declaration is on file. Oh. It's like a punch in the gut when you read that stuff. When I read that stuff, it's an unlisted action, will not have a significant impact on the environment. And a negative declaration is on file. And by the way, it has been determined that the proposed action is not subject to CP 29. What's the basis for that, DEC? I don't know why I keep saying DEP. That's Pennsylvania. What's the basis for claiming that Endicott is not an environmental justice community? Is that what you're claiming? Or are you claiming that somehow this action doesn't apply to environmental justice communities? The environmental justice communities, because this is so trivial, it doesn't even matter. Is that what? I don't know what they're saying here, but I just foiled the DEC and I said, give me the supporting documents to support this conclusion, because I didn't see it. I didn't see it mentioned. It just seemed like somebody just said, nah, it's all arbitrary. It's not based on hard science. So when I read this, it seems to me, what I read is it was determined that your life doesn't matter to the DEC. Your life doesn't matter to Governor Cuomo. Your air quality, Village of Endicott residents, you don't matter. So we have to change that by making some noise, friends. So here is, I looked it up, okay? This is Commissioner Policy 29, Environmental Justice and Permitting. So let's read this first section here. This policy will promote the fair involvement of all people in the DEC environmental permit process. Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds good to you? Sounds good to me. Providing public access to DEC permit information. Sounds good. Now here's the real gotcha, okay? The gotcha is, read it like this. This policy will not be construed to create any right or any benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable by law or by equity, by a party against the DEC, or any right to judicial review. This is what I said before. There's no teeth to this environmental justice policy. It's just for show. There's no teeth to it. There's no remedy. This policy may be subject to change at the discretion of the DEC. So it's just something there to get votes, to look good, but it's completely insubstantial. But I don't care. It's there. It's on the books. It seems like there's some kind of intent there to protect people. So we're going to use this, even though this does. It's not law. It's just their commissioner policy. It's on the books, and we're going to use it. So it's non-binding. It creates new rights. There's no remedies. It's kind of pretend. Okay, the whole environmental justice thing. So that's the pink part we just read. So environmental justice means the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of race, color, or income, with respect to the development, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. Fair treatment means that no group of people, including a racial, ethnic, or socioeconomic group, should bear a disproportionate share of the negative environmental consequences. I have to read it up here. Resulting from the industrial, municipal, and commercial operations or the execution of federal, state, local, or tribal programs and policies. Okay? That's what this one says. Sounds good. Now, low-income community means the census block. It has some definition there. Low-income population. Let's talk about what's a major project. A major project means any action requiring a permit identified in Section 621.2 of Title VI of the official, N6 NYCRR 621.2, which is not specifically defined as minor. Did you get any of that? I didn't really get that. So you look it up. You look up the 6 NYCRR 621.2. Uniform procedures. What's a minor project? Major project. So let's look at what it says. A major project means any action requiring a permit which is not minor. Okay, well, what does minor mean? Minor projects are which by their nature and with respect to their location are not likely to have a significant impact on the environment. So what does that mean? That means with respect to their location. Endicott. I really think their whole attitude is screw Endicott. Endicott's already contaminated. Put the dirtiest, the most dangerous crash and bash type recycling garbage jobs, stick it in Endicott. That's where they've moved up all the people, from the welfare people from New York City. It's already a contaminated area. Endicott is already effed. It's effed up. So move the dirtiest, the crappiest jobs to Endicott. That's what I think they think. And it's not likely to have a significant impact on the environment because Endicott is already FUBAR. And by the way, the people that live there are all these Section 8 welfare trash. It's not my words. I'm saying what I hear other people say, okay? And they don't matter. The people of Endicott don't matter. Well, guess what? We do matter. We do matter. Here's the negative declaration. Emissions of federally regulated pollutions, which, by the way, remember, the federally regulated pollutants are a tiny fraction of all of the identified man-made compounds there are. 50 million. Only 2,000 of which have good toxicity studies of them. They're less than 50% of major source thresholds. Oh, good. And the emissions of highly toxic air contaminants are predicted to be predicted. This doesn't sound like science. It sounds like fortune telling, right? So they've got some kind of computer models. I don't know. We were trying to get more data on how they made these predictions, okay? The facility is thus eligible for a register. But the department, out of the kindness of our hearts, is nonetheless requiring a state facility permit. So they're giving us a little bit more paperwork because they're kind. This action will not result in a substantial adverse change of existing air quality because, once again, Endicott's already screwed. And emissions shall be controlled through appropriate pollution control devices. Boy, that sounds nice, doesn't it? Oh, boy. So here's page 2. The project area is not located within a designated critical environmental area pursuant to blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? It's critical to us. Where we get our water from, it is critical to us. You might not think it's Endicott's a critical environmental area, but we think it's critical. There will be no known impairment of the quality, of the character or quality, or aesthetic resources, or of existing community and neighborhood character, because nobody cares about Endicott. Endicott's already a dirty, ugly little village, a little bit of extra pollution. Nobody's ever going to notice it. That's what they're saying here. Okay? In the negative declaration. There is no identified creation of a hazard to human health. Wrong. If you're going to be emitting carcinogens like dioxin, hexavalent chromium, formaldehyde, if you're going to be emitting endocrine disruptors, if you're going to be emitting heavy metals into the air, if you're going to be emitting sulfuric acid, corrosive agents, it will have an effect on human health. This is not science that's making the statement. There's no identified creation of hazard to human health. Like hell there's not. Formaldehyde is cancer-causing. Hexavalent chromium is cancer-causing. Dioxin is cancer-causing. These are all highly toxic things, and they're going to be emitted. So that's bunk. Let's get back to this environmental justice policy. Let's read the bottom one there. Minority community means a census block group. It's got some kind of definition, but I'm telling you, the population of Endicott has changed. It's moved from Eastern Europeans to Asian, people of African descent, people of Arab descent. There's a lot of Arabs showing up here. It's really a melting pot, but there's a significant population of people of color, minority, immigrants, and poor people that live in Endicott. So let's say Endicott is considered to be an environmental justice community. How does that change things? Well, because the policy directives say that EJ communities, DEC will provide enhanced accessibility to permit information held by the DEC, including, remember our initial asks, our 3 asks? One of our asks was to distribute the permit information on the internet. Look at this, including access to DEC permit information on the DEC website. That's funny. That's exactly what we were asking for. And they didn't do it initially, and they're not considering this an EJ community. So I guess that's the only condition by which they will publish this permit information on the internet, is if you're an EJ community. And Why did they not consider this to be an EJ community? Sure seems like an EJ community to me. Seems like it meets the criteria. And then they're going to use enhanced public participation and public notification mechanisms. Well, haven't seen it. Okay, friends, write to Joseph M. Dlugolenski of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, 607-753-3095. Give him a call and tell him what you think about the Endicott battery permit, Endicott battery incinerator in downtown Endicott that's going to be dumping lots of toxic contaminants into the air that people will be breathing when they're shopping and when they're sleeping at night with their windows open. Contact the DEC, friends. Tell Joseph Dlugolenski what you think about the Endicott battery incinerator. And there's his email. And here's some ideas we've listed. We've talked about this list, several points. Most important thing is we want a public hearing. Ask for a public hearing. Demand a public hearing. Endicott deserves it. Endicott is not a third world nation. Endicott, the people here matter, and we at least deserve a public hearing. And we also deserve a full environmental impact statement so that we can slow this thing down and give the community time to learn about what this thing is, because this thing is being fast-tracked right now, and that's not good. Here's more supplemental information at the Bill Huston Podcast blog. Be sure to check the channel because I've got several videos talking about this facility, several informational videos, including this series. Thanks a lot, friends. So share this out on social media, on your email list. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe to the Bill Huston Podcast on YouTube. And I would appreciate that very much. And only you and me can stop the Endicott battery incinerator, because nobody else is going to do it. If it's not us, nobody's going to do it. The DEC isn't going to do it. The environmental groups aren't going to do it. So it is up to us, friends. Thanks for tuning in, friends. Thanks for watching live. So once again, this is the Bill Huston Podcast. And be sure to follow the Bill Huston Podcast on Facebook, on Twitter. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube. I appreciate you, friends. I appreciate my donors. These are my donors. I appreciate you very, very, very much. These are my donors, friends. So I would really like it if you would make a donation in any amount, and I'll be glad to put your name up here on the donor list. I just got one through Anonymous, so I'm not going to publish anonymous names, but I just got a donation today on my GoFundMe. So I'll probably just put anonymous in here just so that we can cover the people there. But these are the people that support me. I don't know where I would be if not for these people. So probably sleeping under a bridge somewhere. If you don't think, you don't value my work, just don't do anything. And I'll probably be homeless very soon. So that's what's going to happen. If you do value my work, then I would appreciate donations in any amount, because like I said, I do have a part-time job. It doesn't pay all my bills. So I'm very, very grateful to individual donors like you. I don't get a lot of donations from these big groups. So individual donors make a huge, huge difference, friends. So God bless you. Thank you very much. This is Bill Huston. I'm going to sign off for now. And be sure to subscribe. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you later. Over and out.
Because nothing interesting ever happens to us. Stop being so boring, Rick!